Hello and welcome along to the latest episode of Football Thunders. Joining us for this episode, Ryan Scott. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm all right, you?
Recovered from the football Monday night, the Manchester United game where you got just a tad salty?
No, don't bring it up. Don't start again.
Your saltiness.
Your saltiness was astonishing. I mean, it was a new level of... You took salty to a new level.
I know, but it's going to get even worse because now they're talking about giving Marcus Rashford a new contract.
Oh, here we go.
Don't get me started. Don't even get me started.
I think it's the haircut. It's the highlights in the hair that's triggered you, isn't it? That's what's done it, isn't it?
No, to be honest, me and Dan have had this conversation before. I've been after Marcus Rashford for about 2 years. He's basically turned into a Cristiano Ronaldo wannabe, and I'm just not having it.
Are the highlights in his hair sucking out his talent?
It does seem to coincide with it, because if you notice, Dele Alli's done the same thing. Dele Alli's got blue and red dreadlocks, and he's been shit for 2 years too. So,
right, okay.
Anyway,
welcome along, Mr. Salt.
Hello,
it's Lord Salty over there in the corner, and also joining us is Dan Finch, who has his salty moments now and again. And
I just had one. Before we came on,
we mentioned Jermaine Defoe, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a rumour that he's joining Charlton, and it's bollocks. I'll give it to you, frank people.
Okay, it's bollocks. You sure it's bollocks?
Oh yeah,
100% bona fide. Pure.
As I've said, if Jermaine Defoe signs for Charlton, I'll pay someone to make a cake with his face on it, and then I'll let Ryan throw it in my chops.
Ryan, we've got this on we've got this recorded, so
it's on video, it's on audio. We've got
video. It's all there. Welcome along. We're brought to you by Let Us Talk, the football team raising money for mental health. Couple of games coming up, Dan, isn't there?
There is, and the one that is most closest to us is the 30th of January, 5 o'clock kickoff at the Meridian Sports Ground in Charlton. Let Us Talk against TCT 11, which is the FA National Infinity Cup. As I said, all donations go towards the Mind Charity and Teenage Cancer Trust. So if you can make it down to Meridian on the 30th of January, please do. And we also have a match on the 11th of February in Witham in Essex in the Infinity Cup.
The Infinity, which goes on forever and ever, yeah?
Yeah, you made that joke last week.
I know. Until someone laughs, I will continue.
We've done it a long time.
Also brought to you by the Proper Blokes Club, men walking to improve their mental health, walking and talking. Various locations around the country now, popping up everywhere. Find them on Facebook, and they've got their own website, the Proper Blokes Club, and that's how you do it. One take, boys. One take. Thank you.
That's not everything.
Let's first, we've got an agenda for this evening. I'll let you know for today. What we're going to look at: stadium atmospheres. Why are they so different for cup games? How are our predictions doing, and future predictions? We're going to chat about the African Cup of Nations, which is on at the moment.
Nations.
And African nations, yeah, that one.
It's a Finch disease, this.
The African Cup of Nations, and then right at the end, shithousery. Apparently, we haven't got a pundit. We're just going to give it every week to Paul Ince, is what I understand. Is that right?
Yeah.
But we will look at shithousery, which
Jim
I think... Jim White, I'd go for that Scouse twit. What's his name?
Well, to be honest, Paul Scholes has got close, but we'll talk about that one later.
Paul Scholes, please. Said nothing in his career. Now he needs to earn a few quid because he's not playing football anymore. What happens to his fucking mouth? Have a word, you ginger twat. Right.
Say that to his face.
I would. As long as he's not wearing studs. Right, is this next first item? It's down to you, isn't it, this? Atmospheres. Why are they different in the cup?
Well, yeah, it was just curious to me because obviously it's been FA Cup third round time again this year.
Yeah.
And I was watching the football on TV like you do because you get a few extra games on terrestrial TV and whatnot because it's the FA Cup. And for some reason, you watch a Premier League game and then you watch an FA Cup game. And for some reason, the crowd is so much louder. They're so much more into the game. I was just wondering, is it because the grounds are smaller?
No.
Where the fans are from lower leagues, they're more hyped up for it. And there's less plastic fans, shall we call them? The ones that just turn up to Old Trafford, for example, for a day trip just to say, "Oh, I've been to the theatre of dreams."
Yes.
So have a way with it. Go on.
Well, you've just answered the question yourself. A lot of it is for some clubs, like for the lower league clubs, they might be playing a team above them, or they might be playing. It's a chance to get close to playing one of the big teams, especially in a cup game, in an FA Cup game. I mean, you look at over the years, the amount of non-league teams that have played against Premier League clubs. It's a huge thing. It's a huge
5,000 to Chelsea.
It's a huge thing for the club. We've been in this. I've been in that position as a Charlton fan. I've also have to say I've been in the position with Charlton fans up until recently. A cup game was a chance to go and have a sleep because the managers would treat it as a game to put the kids out, and that's Johnny Jackson's bucked that trend. It didn't help us. We still lost, but
respectable.
No, but it is respectable. But
respectable compared to last night's performance.
I think, and if you go around the Premier League, especially Premier League fans, the FA Cup is a genuine opportunity to win something because it's a break away from the monotony of the league. And if you're a mid-table or a lower league club in the Premier League or in any division, it can be a real tough grind going week in, week out in a competition. You know you're not going to win. And the only real thing you're going to do in that competition of any note is at some stage you're going to fail. So, and it is just it is because it's not the season ticket holders. It's not the it's not season ticket holders. It's the fans who want to be there and they want the excitement. And the FA Cup, despite the way it's been treated by the FA and the Premier League, there is still a bit of magic to be had in the FA Cup as far as I'm concerned. And I think games like that, where it's just when there's a game where there's actually something on the line. I know 3 points is on the line for a league game, but when you got a game where there's the next round of a cup or a trip to Wembley is on the end at the end, if you win after that 90 minutes, some of the best atmospheres I've had at the Valley have been in the last couple of years. The Doncaster playoff semi-final at the Valley with 90 minutes away from Wembley or 120 plus penalties, it turned out. The most amazing atmosphere beats the atmosphere on a league game any day of the week. Dan?
Well, just a quick question. You were obviously at the first ever FA Cup in 1871. Was the atmosphere good then as well?
No, we were all we were gentlemen in those days, and we didn't make a bastard. My first cup game was 1970.
Yeah, and the rest.
It was not. My first FA Cup game was 1970 at the Valley.
Mine was 2000 against Dagenham and Redbridge. There you go. Anyway, as I was going to say, so Ryan, I think you nailed the question in one of your possible answers. I think the plastic fan is so prevalent in the Premier League that when you watch the FA Cup, they're not at those games because it's not a Premier League game. It's not one of those massive games. When you see like a Cheltenham, Man United, the Man United fans are there. That's the hardcore Man United fans that are watching them play Cheltenham. You know, when Charlton played Norwich the other day, those Norwich fans, they're the hardcore Norwich fans that are coming to watch their side play Charlton.
Yeah.
And also then you put in, as Pete said, the big day for the lower league clubs that want to come and it's quite easy for the smaller clubs, to get those fans, that kind of plastic fair weather fans that are going out for the day. But that strat of core fan, the Chesterfield fans at Chelsea 5-0 down, they score one, and I watched their away end go berserk. And I thought that's the magic of the cup. I think it's a chance to put your club on the map. It's a chance to get money for your club, and I think that's so well recognised now, that especially for the lower tier. How many teams have we heard about that have had a cup run and it's got them to sign a player, or it's kept them as a football club?
Well, it's paid the wage bill for the following year.
The cup is Newport, obviously, as I've spoke about Newport before. When I was watching them, they literally survived 2 years because they made it to the last 16, 2 years in the FA Cup. The FA Cup is so big in terms of, especially for low leagues, but I think the money, I know the overall stuff, and then also the love, the proper fans, they love the FA Cup, and it's that old school mentality, and that I think that's why, as I said, plastic fans don't come to the FA Cup. The tourists, etc., you don't see them at the FA Cup. It's an FA Cup game. Because really, England is the only country in the world where it's important. In Spain, the cup starts this season, finishes next. In Italy, it's the same.
Yeah, the FA Cup has got 100 odd years of
tradition. And so does Spain and Italy. But their problem is that they don't care about that cup so much that their cup starts in August and finishes the next November because they just don't care about it.
Yeah, there is an element of some of the clubs in this country, not in England, not caring initially in the third and fourth round about the FA Cup. As they progress, they start to think, well, could be our only option. I would think Manchester United have to play a lot of importance. I'm not having a pop at Man U, but because the way their season's gone, their only real possibility of winning anything, realistically, is the FA Cup. So that should be reflected, and I think was fairly well reflected in the team on Monday. They put out a very strong team. Had they been flying in the league, I think there'd have been a few younger players flying around, wouldn't there?
I think Man United, Aston Villa, they had to send out their first team to win the game.
Yeah.
If they were playing like Liverpool played Shrewsbury, could get away with playing a mixed side.
4 or 5 kids, I suppose.
If United played Charlton, for instance, I don't think we'd have seen Ronaldo and Rashford. Probably would have seen Martial. But, that's dependent on the draw as well.
I think the one time Charlton have played Man United in the FA Cup at Old Trafford, Man United did play their full team. And when we're talking Kinchelskis, everyone, Schmeichel getting sent off. But, yeah, they played their full team, which was
when
great.
Was that?
That'll be in the 90s because Gary Nelson played. So it'll be
3-1 FA Cup 6th round, 94.
94, yeah. So if you look at the Man United team, it was pretty much a first.
Dear Lord, I've just seen the United team.
Go on.
Well, we did well trying to lose 3-1, frankly.
Well, we should have taken the lead. It was only when Schmeichel got sent off that things went wrong for us. They got better.
Literally, Schmeichel got sent off and then the Man United scored 3 goals.
Yeah, go on. That's the Man United team.
The Man United side was Peter Schmeichel, Paul Parker, Steve Bruce, Gary Pallister, Dennis Irwin, Andrei Kanchelskis, Paul Ince, Roy Keane, Ryan Giggs, Eric Cantona, and Mark Hughes. Now, I'll be honest. I think I've shit myself reading that. That's worrying, isn't it?
Yeah, go on. Read the Charlton team out. Go on.
Carl Lieberg scored.
Yeah, go on.
The Charlton team was... Let me try and find... Oh, they haven't got the Charlton team on there because, of course, they haven't. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
I'm trying to think. I know Nelson played. Kim Grant played. Did Kim Grant play? Yes, because Kim Grant was the man who got Schmeichel sent off. Well, I didn't get him sent off. I think it was Grant was through. And he
Charlton, here we go.
Go on.
John Fawn.
Oh.
Steve Brown.
You won't let you down.
Alan McCleary.
Yeah.
Stuart Barmer.
Oh, sweaty. Nice.
Scott Minto.
Oh, classy.
Darren Pitcher. Mark Robson.
Your mum's favourite was Darren Pitcher, by the way.
Alan Pardew. Sorry, I had a cough.
Who?
Anchor. Alan Pardew. Anchor. Anchor.
Upsticks. Wanker.
Kim Grant. Gary Nelson and the goal scorer Carl Lieberg and Colin Walsh came off the bench. And the manager was Steve Britt, which is wrong because it was Steve Britt and Alan Kirchley.
Yeah, and
just said Steve Britt.
But we were in the game up until Man United went down to 10 men, and then they got focused.
And the Man United manager was some Scottish fella.
We stringer pesty.
While we're talking about the FA Cup, actually,
go on.
Why do you think it doesn't have the pomp that it used to anymore? Because I remember, obviously, being a Man United fan, we had a fair bit of success in the 90s. But you don't even get like the really cheesy, terrible FA Cup songs anymore.
Oh, thank God for that, to be honest.
I mean, the status quo one with Man United wasn't bad. Yeah. The one the following year...
Excuse me, it wasn't bad. You had it on permanently.
Exactly.
It was non-stop. That song, that tune haunts me to this day.
Along with the Out Here Brothers, yeah?
Boom, 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 yeah. So, yeah. I think the money is a lot to do with it. Money is a lot to do with it. And it's, I think it's also taking the European Cup Winners' Cup away from it wasn't good. I mean, that's a European thing, but when they split, they decided to do away with the European Cup Winners' Cup because that was a great competition.
Well, there's still a route into Europe.
There is. It's the UEFA Cup, isn't it? They go into now, isn't it? Yeah.
But I think Europe has that. That's another reason for me. Not only do I think, listen, the big clubs, you don't win a lot of money from winning. I think you win the FA Cup, you get like £2 million. That's fuck all to Man United, Man City, Liverpool. And also, I think another problem is the big clubs are playing so many games. You think now they're playing 38 Premier League games. They're playing 5 Carling Cup games or whatever it's called now.
The Champions League's got a lot to do with it.
They're playing the six FA Cup games. Then you're talking 6 Champions League games at a minimum, then for the better sides, and let's be honest, the English clubs, all 4 of them that would be expected to make the quarterfinals, that's going to be 8, maybe 10 games on their way to the quarterfinals. And by the time you're in the FA Cup, say semis, you've played 10 Champions League games. You've got a Champions League semi-final and an FA Cup semi-final. Most managers will put their second team out in the FA Cup and their strongest team out in the Champions League.
And I don't think TV covers it how TV used to. When I was growing up, the whole day was put aside to the FA Cup final. You would have something like Swap Shop, and it would be in wherever one of the teams were. You would have Question of Sport, and there were all sorts of programs. You'd have a program from the team's hotels before, in the morning from the team hotels where the players are having lunch or whatever. You go to, and it's just there'd be cameras on the coaches and stuff, except when Brighton played Man United on their helicopter that took them to Wembley. Didn't help them. But the build up to the game was it started a week or so before.
Which one of you two mentioned the FA Cup songs?
Me.
Because ever since you've said that, I've been singing Spurs are on their way to Wembley in my head.
In the cup for Tottenham.
Which means for most of this evening and tomorrow at work, I'm going to be walking around going, Spurs are on their way to Wembley. Thanks for that. Cheers.
People don't do it anymore, and it's something that the FA Cup is missing, I think. I think that teams need to bring it back.
It was a genuine chance to get on top of the pops, and they did. They were always on top of the pops.
Didn't Palace get on there once?
Glad all over. They took Glad all over. Alan Pardew.
Enough reason to stop it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. That's where it should have stopped. And
shut it down now.
Yeah, shut it down right there. As soon as Alan Pardew's on top of the pops, game over. Sorry, but once you get that fuckwit on television.
Can I just say, I was very disappointed in Millwall. I only want you to win once a year, and you let me down. So
yeah. Very upsetting last weekend.
Pissed me off. You went 1-0 up. Thanks to Jack Butland being Jack Butland.
I've got to say, Millwall gave me my most scary cup final watching experience.
Against United.
Yeah, I watched it in a pub in Bermondsey.
Fucking hell.
Because I was going out, and the female I was going out with lived in Surrey Keys, and she didn't want to watch football. If I'd have put the telly on to watch football, she'd have found a job for me to do. So I said, I'm going to watch the football this afternoon, so I'm going to go and find a pub. I was in one of the biggest Millwall pubs. These were the only ones who hadn't got tickets for the game.
And Millwall started well as well, like the first
half
hour of the game.
I wanted to celebrate when Man United scored, but I couldn't because I'd have died.
The biggest shithouse in that game, and a complete shithouse, FA Cup final. Alex Ferguson took off his keeper.
Did he? Who was the keeper?
3-0 up, and he took off his keeper. I think it was Tim Howard on the day. I think it was Tim Howard. Don't hold me to it.
Yeah,
pretty sure it was Tim Howard.
He took the keeper off.
With like 10 minutes left, he took him off.
Who did he bring on? Who was the keeper that came on? Do you know? Because it might have been someone who was on their way out.
Probably Roy Carroll.
Or someone like that.
Yeah, it's probably. Oh, yeah. But that's the thing. Up until the 90s, I could tell you who won the FA Cup every year. I could go through it and list it from, like
1946.
47.
We lost it 46, didn't we?
We lost and the ball burst in both games. But I could tell you from about...
there's a joke there. I won't make it.
Yeah. Bastards. But I could tell you from the 60s, pretty much from the cup finals I'd watched, I could tell you the results, who won the cup, who scored the goals. Dear. I have to say, pretty much worked things out that, Dan, you were conceded as a result of Man United losing the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a fact. We worked it out. Yeah. Yeah, didn't hear status quo that day, did we? Is that the FA Cup? Are we happy with what we?
Should we move on from the FA Cup?
Yeah, please, can we? Yeah. How are our predictions doing? Oh, right. Should we go League One?
Yeah, let's start at the bottom and work our way up, Mr. Fence Sitter.
Here we go. Ryan predicted Sunderland and Charlton. Charlton via the playoffs. Yeah. Cool. How's that looking?
Well, to be fair, it didn't start very well, did it?
It's not got much better since.
Then you sacked your manager, got a better one in, and
the technical term is we shit the bed.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
Well, Sunderland, to be fair, are in second at the moment.
Yeah, Sunderland have a striker that I think he can't stop scoring. So if he keeps going, the more Ross Stewart plays, the more he scores.
I do feel
Sunderland later.
I was going to say I've got a sneaking suspicion Sunderland may be appearing later in the pod. So yeah, Charlton on paper. I mean, got the owner shouting, "Oh yeah, we're going to rip this league a new one." And frankly, the only thing that was ripped a new one was Nigel Adkins. And since Jacko has got the job permanently, we've shit the bed, technically speaking. Including last night's crying out for someone who can score goals and crying out for someone who can perhaps defend.
Well, we have someone who can score goals. I just like him to be fit.
But the main question is where are you in the league?
15th.
Oh,
we are
14th, my bad.
6 points above Morecambe, who are in the drop zone.
But how many points from the playoffs?
About 12.
The other good thing is we are
14.
The other good thing is we are still above Gillingham, which
who've gap between them lot.
Who've shit the bed in a big way, so much so that they sacked the fat boy during the week.
Their caravan can't roll as quick as ours.
Yeah, and I think they've appointed Steve Lovell as the manager.
No way.
Yeah, he's back in again.
He got sacked by Welling.
Yeah, I think he's at Gillingham now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, well, League Two Beckham, see you later, Parkis.
And yes, he's caretaker.
You both bang the drum quite loudly for Wigan and Ipswich on that pod. Because of the amount of money they'd spent. So where are they at?
Wigan are in 4th, 5 points behind Sunderland, who are in 2nd. Ipswich are in 10th, and they have...
that's not gone well.
Ipswich are on a charge.
Yeah, they're starting to pull up there.
They changed their manager. They hired Steve McGreal. I don't know how to say his name. And then he left, and Kieran McKenna's come in. Yes. And since Kieran McKenna's come in, they drew with Sunderland, beat Wickham, who are up the top, and gave Gillingham a right old spanking. So well done. He's also got Macaulay Bond scoring, which I didn't know was possible.
I mean, that's the most impressive feat of the lot to get Macaulay Bond
on a charge. Wigan, sadly, a lot of what me and Pete said at the beginning of the year was Charlie White will score them goals. Obviously, mentioned it on the pod a few weeks ago. Had that cardiac arrest at training, so hasn't been playing. They signed Josh McGuinness, who had 20 goals last year in League One.
Josh McGuinness.
So I have a feeling Hull will be fine. And the other team I believe I shouted out was Rotherham.
You gave a shout out to Rotherham and
who are top.
Rotherham are top, so I'll take that.
What galls me is the MK Dons are in 5th and Oxford United with the Scouse Gobshites are in 6th. That upsets me a hell of a lot.
The Scouse Gobshite is a bit like the Christmas Deckies. He always
Carl Robinson too, and anybody else. We don't like him.
He comes down with the Christmas Deckies, so they'll finish about 9th.
Yeah.
And MK Dons, they're a good side. You can't say much about them. Scott Twine's leaving, which might sod them, but
Lyle Taylor was out giving them stick during the week, wasn't he? Apparently.
Yeah, but he's a prick as well.
So. Yeah, there is that as well. So that's League One at the moment.
Just one more thing, just to remind people, Gillingham are getting relegated.
Yeah, that's
much to my enjoyment. See that, lads?
And we've got a friend who's very quiet on all social media about football at the moment. He was giving it the big one earlier in the season because they were about a point above us.
I have a tweet from him in August where he tweeted "Mind the gap." So what I'm doing currently is
you're just waiting for it.
I photoshopped it.
Nice.
What I'm going to do at the end of the season, I'm going to Photoshop the league table underneath it when it shows Gillingham is relegated. I can send him it.
I do have a wanted poster with his image on it as well. Do you want me to send you that so you can add to it? Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah. There's nothing like being friendly with your mates.
Okay. On to the Championship.
That's done all right here as well overall.
Championship. I didn't, because I don't know much about the Championship. I'd say Ryan said more than me. I think we all agreed Derby going down, although they're making a fist of it, aren't they?
I'm not sure they're down, you know.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking about fisting when Wayne Rooney's the manager.
But they are only 11 points off Reading, who are...
No grannies around.
Reading got and had ripped a new one the other night. 7-0 they lost to Fulham.
At home.
They got... And the performance was just beyond... I mean, even now, one of the guys who reports on their game is called Benji, and he covered Charlton for a while, and he's now covering Reading, and he slaughtered them the other night and said they were just dire. 7-0 to Fulham, who are...
Having said that, it is partially, I think, down to Andy Carroll being up front. But also...
Two goals ruled out the other night. He had two goals disallowed.
They're both absolute weldies. If you haven't seen it, one's an overhead kick.
Is that not shithousery?
And the other one is a banging volley, and they were both offside, and his team lost 7-0. Poor Andy.
Sorry, this is Andy Carroll from
Andy Carroll,
Newcastle.
Yeah.
Talented player, but just doesn't stay fit enough.
That's what shocked me. I'm surprised he found another club, considering we've talked about Jack Wilshere.
No, you can.
Not able to get one.
They probably offered him 10 grand a week, and he said, "Yeah, I'll have that because
he's not even on that. I think he's on pay as you play." So.
Is he on pay? Well, that's the way to do it.
Which is what Jack Wilshere will sign for someone. As long as Jack
he will
do.
Yeah, I'd love to see him in Charlton shirt.
So sorry, who's he playing for now?
Reading.
Blimey.
Andy Carroll's at Reading. So Ryan,
yes.
You said Bristol City playoffs, Fulham and Sheffield United.
Yeah.
Bristol City are at the moment languishing in 15th.
Yeah,
Sheffield United are 13th, although they've won the last 4 games on the trot, so they are making.
Bristol City are having injury diabolical season. Bless them.
Sheffield United are 8 points off the playoffs.
Sheffield United will be in the playoffs,
and there's a chance they could do it.
They'll be in the playoffs.
And Fulham
are second, going well as we said.
Fulham will win the league.
In their last 5 games, though, they've drawn 3, lost 1, and thrashed the living daylights out of Reading in the other.
They will win the league.
But Fulham have got, they've got some pretty good
West
players.
Brom still running away with it then?
No, West Brom are fourth. West Brom are fourth. They're 7 points off the top.
The team at the minute is Blackburn.
Absolutely
Blackburn
flying.
are on a charge. Tony Mowbray I think he's match fixing, frankly.
We've been talking about Ben Brereton Diaz for ages, though, haven't we?
It's not even him. That's the thing.
With a similar record to Blackburn in the last 5 games is Sheffield United as well. I dislike Tony Mowbray because he made some disparaging comments about Charlton once up at Middlesbrough, which had me bristling with indignation.
We should be beating teams.
And speaking of Middlesbrough, how are they getting on? Because that was one that Dan tipped.
7th for their point outside the playoffs on a mad run. So,
and they got rid of Colin Wanker. Sorry, Neil Warnock.
They've got Chris Wilder in charge, which I thought when they signed him, I thought that's a
reasonable move.
That's going to be the move that makes them a bit better.
Yeah,
they've been busy in the window. They've got some quite good young. I think the Spaniard and Uruguayan, who seems to be.
Why do you think it didn't work for Neil Warnock? Because he's got a good.
He's 106.
Because he's got a good championship record. Is he too old school now? Is that what it is? Game's moved on from his bully boy tactics.
I mean, we say it every week, don't we? He's a dinosaur. 4-4-2, lump the ball up. So they signed Uche Piazzu, who he's a lump.
Yeah.
And Neil Warnock, incidentally, can now be found on Talkshite Radio.
Well, there you go.
There's a shot.
There you go.
Dan's credentials as a Charlton fan took a bit of a hit for this one and really upset Pete when he suggested Millwall might be in with a shout of going up. How are Millwall getting on, Dan?
11th.
Smack bang in the middle of the table. However, again, I did say on that podcast, Millwall find a striker, they're in with the playoffs. They didn't find a striker, and their playoff hopes are fading fast. And Jed Wallace looks like he's about to join Nottingham Forest. So any hope of Millwall scoring between now and the end of the season rests solely on the head of Benny Kafobe.
I do need to interject here, Dan, and just say the name because you mentioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. Middlesbrough, Millwall, Sheffield United, West Brom, and shitting the bed in 20th, Cardiff.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah, we made a hell of a ricket there, haven't you?
And QPR was Pete's one tip for the playoff.
I fought for the playoffs, an outside bet for the playoffs, and at the moment they are on 41 points.
I have to apologise because I gave you some shit for this pick.
Yeah, but
I picked Cardiff.
Look, any manager that works out that Macaulay Bond's a pile of shit after paying $2 million for him previously and then admits his crap, he's bad in my book.
Who manages QPR?
Mark Warburton.
Oh, he's still there.
Yeah. So, on to the Premier League. This is where I'm out of my comfort zone. Totally here.
I mean, you can do bad. I mean,
I'm not doing too bad. I've relegated
I'm
Ryan.
I'm quite impressed that Ryan's relegated 2 teams, though.
Yeah, he's relegated Crystal Palace and Norwich.
No, it was supposed to be a Watford on there.
Oh, you just left it
apologise. Yeah, I was thinking transfer over in the cut and paste job that I did.
I think, I think Watford are fourth from bottom at the moment, and I'm not so sure about Burnley at the moment because they've just sold Chris Wood. I know he's only scored 3 goals for them this season, but he's a presence, isn't he? And I don't know who's going to get the goals for Burnley. What are they going to do?
Ashley didn't get him the goals before, so it doesn't matter.
They got Ashley Barnes, didn't they? Come on.
All right, okay.
Matic Vidra, come on.
Wow, pardon me if I'm not that excited.
Let's be honest, they're buggered, aren't they? Let's just call it what it is. Burnley are going down.
I'm quite happy compared to so we all got Newcastle and Norwich and kind of said, well, they're buggered. Well, no,
we all had Norwich and Watford.
Yeah, that's wrong. We all had.
I didn't. I went Watford and I added Southampton into the list. That's fucking backfired on me, isn't it?
Well, there's still time yet, but
we've said it so many times about Southampton. They are a shithouse football club. They are shit until about March, and then all of a sudden go, oh, we'll win some games now. This year they've changed it up and sitting in the mid-table.
But to be fair, my other call was Crystal Palace, and look what they've done.
Don't.
However, I did say that was going to happen. I'm very pleased with mine.
And I did also say I was worried about Wolves, and they started off atrociously, and now I think they're about 8th.
Yeah.
So
I'm very pleased with my extra relegation.
So Newcastle this week, a couple of signings. Dan, what do you think? Does it help them, or are they? Is it too little, too late?
It's Chris Wood.
Yeah, and Kieran Trippier. Those are the 2 players they've got in the last 2.
We talked about Kieran Trippier last week because it was a done deal. Chris Wood. When I saw that they'd spent 25 million on Chris Wood, I laughed for about 4 minutes.
25 million seems a lot of money.
This is a striker that has 40 goals in 140 games for Burnley.
Yeah.
Do you want to laugh even more about this transfer then?
Go on then.
There is a rumour going around, right? And this is not confirmed, but it is just a rumour, that the £25 million release clause that Newcastle paid didn't actually kick in until the summer. So they've paid the release clause ahead of time to get him in January.
No, then that's not a release clause.
On the bright side, Bernard just said do it anyway. On the bright side, what Ryan said the other week, I'm now on his side. Newcastle are getting ready for the Championship. That is a champion. He will score goals in the Championship.
Well, you said that as soon as you saw the signing, didn't you, the other day?
I did, yeah. But Ryan has been saying it for ages.
Do you think?
And I'm now at the point where I agree with him because why else would you sign Chris Wood?
Yeah, I mean, how desperate have you got to be?
The thing that makes me laugh is I get
3 goals this season.
I get if you're going to sign Chris Wood, if you're going to put him next to someone who scores goals, but Callum Wilson's out long term, and your other striker's Joel Linton. Lads, what are you doing?
Have they still got Dwight Gale?
Yeah, but he's dead, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, Dwight Gale. He's just a player.
And he's a Palace prick.
Yeah, he's a player I just want to slap. I've always wanted to just slap him.
The thing that worries me is this is very clearly 2 premeditated signings, because if you look at it, Trippier is very technically gifted when it comes to dead ball situations and crossing a football. And then they go and sign Chris Wood, who is going to be on the end of all the crosses. So you now know exactly how Newcastle are going to play,
which is against the way Eddie Howe normally plays, isn't it?
And it's not going to suit Almiron or St Maximin because they can't cross a ball for Toffee.
Almiron can't do anything for Toffee, in fairness.
Yeah, to be fairness,
Almiron is someone that...
He's about as much as a fire in the thunderbox.
When I watched MLS quite religiously, because Bradley Wright Phillips is a god, Almiron was at Atlanta United. And I looked at him, I thought this bloke, so there was 2, it was him and Josef Martinez of Colombia. And I thought these 2 are going to be great in the Premier League. Almiron signed for Newcastle. I thought, baller at last. Newcastle have got a good player. And I watched him in the Premier League and went, I don't think he can get in the Charlton team.
So,
doo-doo.
European qualifiers. Should we look at them now?
No, I don't want to. Yeah, I did all right.
Leicester and Arsenal for you, Dan.
Well, I mean, Arsenal.
I mean, Leicester are only 6 points off Man U.
Leicester just can't get fit players, can they? Every time one comes back, another one goes.
Yeah.
And Arsenal are probably going to finish 5th, 6th because they have this thing where they beat all the bottom teams, but they can't beat any of the top so they're not going to get anywhere near the top 4.
And Ryan went for Leicester and Aston Villa.
Ryan, lad.
Well, to be fair, Leicester had previous, and like you said, if it wasn't for their injury record, they probably would be up there.
The other one I'm questioning.
Well, Aston Villa, well, it looked a good bet. And bearing in mind, they've also changed their manager now, and they've just signed Philippe Coutinho, of all people.
And Luca Digne now as well.
They're signing quality. If they can get a tune out of Coutinho, oof.
Have you seen?
And he's got they've got an optional future fee. So
yeah, 35 million quid.
Well, I think it is. He'll be there next year.
Have you seen Digne's statement as he leaves Everton? He's not mentioned it, but he's slagged off Benitez.
Yeah, he's not keen on Benitez.
Benitez has slagged him back as well.
Here's the whole reason he left. He's
made that quite clear.
He says it in his statement without mentioning his name.
Yeah, he does have to mention.
Before we get on to the top 4, I think we should all, as a group, we should apologise to West Ham United. We all said one season hit, bye, see you later, and
they're 4th.
They're in 4th. So
there's still time. There's still time for them to screw it up, but
I still think we should. They're going to get in Europe, aren't they?
Keeping Antonio fit's going to be the key for them, isn't it?
Well, they're still apparently trying to get Gabigol. So
now, I've been seeing all sorts of reports, and Darren Bent went out on a limb today and said, if Jared Bowen doesn't get picked for England now, he never will. I hope he never will, because I think he's better than Bamford, but I don't think he's an England player. Do you, Dan?
I think he deserves a spot in England squad.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's producing statistically one of the best years of an English winger in the league this year. I'd rather have him over Sancho and Rashford, frankly, this season.
Rashford should be dropped by England because he's so off the pace. It's unreal. Wait for the saltiness.
But let's be honest. Jared Bowen isn't going to get selected as much as he deserves to be based on form alone. Gareth Southgate is a bold-faced liar. He said, I picked players on form, and now he just picks everybody who's played for him beforehand.
Jared Bowen has 21 games this season and has been part of 15 goals.
That's not bad.
Put him in the England squad.
And how many goals has Marcus Rashford been? I hate to pick on the lad, but how many goals has he been involved in this year?
Has he scored? 3.
He's got Martial-itis.
If he's the answer, you do beg the question, don't you?
Right,
really?
James Sancho's won, but then again, they refuse to play him as they should. So
yeah, okay. So West Ham were upsetting everyone. They didn't feature in anything we said. Let's go from my top 4. I said Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City.
No, you done it. That's in reverse order.
Yeah. So top. All right, so top of the league, I said Man City. Chelsea to finish 2nd, Liverpool to finish 3rd, Man United to finish 4th. I've got one of them right. Oh, mind you, I'm all right. I've got 3 so far. I've got 3 out of I think have I got 3? Yeah, I've got 3 out of it's Man United that letting me down, aren't they?
Letting everyone down these days.
Well, yeah, I know. They're...
Let's not go there, right?
I had them for 2nd, so.
And we told you wouldn't finish 2nd. You were adamant.
I know. I said, well, if you looked at it on paper, it was like we finished 3rd and 2nd in previous seasons, and then we went out and signed Ronaldo, Varane, and Sancho. You're thinking, as a Man United fan, happy days.
Varane was the one I thought was the signing that would make the most difference for me.
He's struggling to stay fit,
but he's struggling to stay fit, isn't he? And I think he's a big loss.
And unfortunately, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer shit the bed. And we've gone from appears to be a manager who didn't really have much idea about tactics.
Here we go.
To a manager who's overly structured tactics. And we need something in the middle.
Great. By the way, can I just say the top 3 is exactly how I put the top 3.
And me, excuse me. I'm the same. In fact, Dan, we are identical. The only way we're wrong, Dan, is by putting Man United in 4th. Let me blow in your own trumpet without blowing the old fellas.
Yeah, but, you're 112. It doesn't matter.
It does matter because I've got it right as well. Salty little fecker.
The only thing I will say is Pete was raving about Romelu Lukaku, and that hasn't quite gone to plan, has it?
No, he's
professing his love for Roma.
Yeah,
they've got a beast.
Out.
They've got a beast. He said.
Yeah.
To be fair, I thought Lukaku would be.
I thought he would be the difference.
But he's had COVID, he's had injuries. I mean, even then, his goal record in the Premier League is still.
How many goals has he got this season?
He's got 6 into 13. That's still 1 every 2.
But that's what really confused me about the whole Lukaku situation. Obviously, we didn't discuss it on the pod, I don't think. But he came out. This interview came out at a really weird time. He did it at a really weird time because he was complaining about not playing and not playing properly. But he'd been out injured and had COVID and hadn't been seen in months.
Apparently, the interview wasn't.
It was done a month before.
It was done a month before it came out. So
it was done during. No, but still, Ryan's right. It was done during his injury.
It just didn't make sense to me. And then all of a sudden he came out. He's like, "Oh, I'm in love with Italy. I miss Inter Milan. I'm going back there. Lautaro Martinez, don't come here. I'll come to you."
Do you know what the funny thing is? He made that comment about being in love with Italy and everything about Inter Milan. And the next day, the Inter Milan fans wrote on there's a big thing of him holding the title in Milan. The Inter Milan fans had graffitied it, "Don't come back." They don't want him back.
Well, he apologised a couple of days later. I'm still not quite sure what he had to apologise for.
Have you seen the video?
I haven't, but I'm still.
I'm sorry you're upset.
Yeah, I just don't understand what he really had to apologise for. He sat in front of an interview and said the truth, which was basically, had Inter not needed to sell me, I wouldn't have returned to Chelsea.
But there's a way of saying that, and then there's a way of saying my manager's a prick. I love where I've been, and I don't love this lot.
I think that's what he was apologising for, was basically saying, I don't like what the manager's doing. I think that's what he was apologising for. Everything else...
Lukaku's a very, very smart man. I think he was trying to make a play to get him to fuck off. I think, genuinely, Chelsea were being a bit shaky. He wasn't getting used, apparently, in the way he wanted to get used.
But he was injured, yeah.
He's a smart man. I wonder if he was trying to say, hey, Mr. Abramovich, fuck him off, please.
There does seem to be a lot of that at Chelsea, doesn't there?
Play Shevchenko.
Look how many times the players have revolted and the manager's been buggered off under Roman Abramovich. So
yeah, it does happen.
I was surprised that it didn't happen this time. As soon as Lukaku did that, I thought Tuchel hasn't got long. I watched the Liverpool game.
I don't think he's got long because he looks weak. Just look at him, he looks weak.
The Liverpool game, they went 2-0 down after about 25 minutes, and I went, he's done. He's not. And then the players came out in the second half.
And played for him.
They played for him and got a point. So he might be okay.
He might be okay.
Well, you say that, but he's taken them to 3 finals in 1 year. So he can't be doing that bad.
Oh, yeah. There's one player now. I know Xhaka's been sent off. For
the Carabao, the Moose Cup, whatever it's called.
Yeah, the pile of shit cup, that one.
Yeah, and he's taken them to an FA Cup and a Champions League final.
Arsenal have 22%. What's the point of turning up?
Well, but with Arsenal, that's a good question anyway, isn't it?
And who was the lad that you two were banging on about that I think he just signed for Ipswich and he was going to score muchos goals?
Wasn't Macaulay Bonne.
No,
Joe Pickett.
I wasn't on Joe Pickett's camp.
I was in Joe Pickett's camp. I still would, but I don't know what's going on at Ipswich.
Ipswich, by all accounts, from what is being spoken about, their previous manager, Paul Cook, the players all thought he was a tosser, basically, and didn't play for him.
Well, that's nice.
So
good job they got Kieran McKenna now. Then
they've got Kieran McKenna, and their whoever their caretaker was, name's gone again. John McGreal,
probably, yeah.
Something
he
like
was a former Ipswich player.
Yeah, it's him. Then that they've had a good. I think the only game they lost under him was at Charlton.
I also don't think it's a coincidence that now Kieran McKenna's left Man United. The football at Old Trafford's got worse.
Let's
Kieran McKenna.
Let's look at future. So we this future predictions, Ryan. What are you after from us?
That was me.
Well, it was Dan, actually.
Oh, was it Dan? Right, go on then. Future predictions.
Yeah,
Dan.
so I'll tell you where it comes from. I listened to an NFL podcast. I'll give it a plug right here, called Around the NFL. If you're an NFL fan, listen to it. They have a segment called Get My Lunch, where they all make a prediction at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And if you call them out and say it's not going to happen, whoever loses has to buy the other one's lunch. Yeah. So I thought it'd be fun for us to maybe not buy each other lunch, but come up with some predictions. Can be easy, can be wild, and just see if we agree or not. Mine are really simple. There's one that might set Ryan off, and then there's one that's just fact, more or less. We know before, and then there's one that I just would like to see for giggles. Yeah, I've got one I'd like to see for giggles, and one that I think will happen. Who wants to start this one? I'll start, as it was my... Yeah, I think you should. So we'll start with the confirmed.
Go on.
Watford will make two managerial changes and have 3 managers throughout 2022. So you've got Ranieri.
That's a given.
They'll sack him for someone else. Probably at the end of the season when they get relegated.
They'll sack him again.
And then they'll be in about 6th in November, and they'll sack him as well. And their manager will be some random Italian.
I'll give you a scenario. They'll sack Ranieri in March, late February, March, when it's not going. They've lost. They'll then appoint someone. They'll sack them in the summer when they actually get relegated. And when they get off to a bad start, they could sack someone in November. 4 managers.
That's exactly what I just said.
You said 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm adding 2 managers in this Premier League season. Ranieri ain't going to last till the summer. Come on, he's not traditionally Ranieri doesn't last till the summer, does he?
Well, I mean, Premier League title, we did that year.
Yeah, that just the once. That's okay. Next one, move on. What do you think of that one, Ryan? How many managers Watford in the next 12 months?
I think
in the calendar year.
In the whole calendar year.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right with 4.
Thank you.
I think you're probably right.
Right. So then I've got the one that I'm just willing to see. Scotland and Wales are obviously playing each other in the World Cup. So I'm hoping that Scotland win. Simply because I want them to go to the World Cup and get twatted by everyone.
Yeah, I see where you're going. See, I'd like to see Wales get through, but then there's the idea of Scotland getting twatted.
If Wales get there, I want them to do okay.
By Costa Rica in the first game,
I
or
want to
someone crap.
Be put in a group that looks like Italy, Scotland, Brazil, and Ivory Coast, and just watch everyone put like 4 past them, and then them lose 1-0 to Ivory Coast, and I would laugh for the rest of the World Cup.
That's how the World Cups used to be when Scotland went anyway.
Exactly, we'll do it again.
I mean, that's how I've always remembered World Cups, is Scotland going there and getting twatted.
Because the difference is, if Wales make the World Cup, I'm like, all right, Wales, enjoy yourself. Good day out for you lot. For Scotland, it's like, twat them. Go on, get on them. Like, you know, when Croatia scored that goal where the Scotland keeper was out for a dawdle and Croatia, was it Czech Republic or Croatia scored from the halfway line?
Yeah.
That's the highlight of my Euro.
Seeing Scotland not progress is a joy. Because they hate us so much, it's brilliant.
They won the Euros when they drew 0-0.
Yeah,
sorry, they won 0-0. My bad.
And yeah. So, have you got any more predictions for this year?
Yes, one more. Very precise. This one. Are you ready for this one?
Go on.
This one is technically cheating because I said including next January.
Go on.
Marcus Rashford will join Everton on loan.
Oh.
That's an interesting one. What makes you think that?
Because because
they're discussing a new contract with him, aren't they? So he can get some more hairdos.
Jesse Lingard, then he buggered off to West Ham. Marcus Rashford is following in the footsteps of Adnan Januzaj. Right? Where you break through the team.
You're hailed as a conquering hero.
Hailed as the next Ronaldo. You do all right on your international games. And then you shit the bed at speed. Now, the difference was Januzaj went to Sunderland, who were a side that were doing well, that were on the decline. So Rashford's going to go to Everton, who are a good side that are seriously on the decline. Marcus Rashford, welcome to Everton.
So does that mean he's going to end up in Spain in about 2 years?
Oh, Valencia's coming for him.
Something I'd like to see is Mason Greenwood go on loan somewhere. Whilst they're fucking around with Cavani and Ronaldo, and he's not getting the look in at the position he plays, can he not go off and get some, for the sake of England, please?
I'd like him to play from Man United.
You like to?
Fuck Ronaldo. Fuck off Cavani. Play Greenwood.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen, is it? So
no, because
you never know, because the formation that we're playing now is apparently
what one's this?
4-2-2-2-2-2-2.
Desmond, as we call it, the Desmond Tutu.
All the way from one goal to the other. They do play with 2 strikers now, so.
And he still doesn't get a game.
He still doesn't get it looking. He goes out on the bleeding wing.
No, to be fair, he has been playing recently because there was an uproar when he got bought off because he was our most effective player, and Ronaldo stood there doing.
I think he needs a period away from Old Trafford to get some games under his belt in a different team, and I think that'd work.
He's good enough.
Or play him,
just play him.
Yeah, but they're going to play the old Portuguese geezer and the geezer with the long hair, weren't they?
I did originally have on here Cristiano Ronaldo leaves Man United in a hissy fit.
Well, that I could see happening at some stage, to be honest.
But I changed it to the Marcus Rashford loan this morning.
Is that because you were trying to trigger Ryan?
No, it's just because, as I said, I magically and miraculously cooked up the comparison between him and Januzaj and thought, let's go with it.
It's not a bad comparison, to be honest. Just need mad Roy Keane to take over a club in the Premier League who are struggling, and then Rashford sorted, didn't he? He got it done then, haven't we?
Well, I think if Roy Keane took over Man United, then I think we would see Cristiano Ronaldo leaving a huff and Marcus Rashford go on to Everton. So there you go.
Could you imagine if that happened? It's not going to happen. Not in a month of Sundays. Not while Alex Ferguson's still got a breath in his body. If Keane went into Manchester United in any capacity, could you imagine what would go on?
You aren't aware of what goes on at Old Trafford. He was in Old Trafford several times under Ollie. He came in, gave speeches to the team, did training sessions.
Didn't it?
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, you've assassinated the goalkeeper.
It was something Ollie did quite often. He brought in a lot of people. I think Steve Bruce was waiting by the phone, but it never rung.
I kind of feel like we see
Van Gogh. If you don't know what we're talking about, you need to Google Mario Rosenstock. Gift grub. Mario Rosenstock. Roy Keane. He did some amazing things with Roy Keane, and he actually sat in a room alongside Roy Keane and did it face to face with him. Hello, Roy. I didn't say like. And when I watch Roy Keane on TV, normally when I see him on TV, he's on ITV and it's an international game, and my first thing is get off the telly. You shouldn't be on there. You walked out on your nation. But then he starts talking, and all I can hear is collateral. At the end of the day, Gaffer. I can hear Mario Rosenstock. And I can't stop laughing. It's also if I ever saw Steve Staunton on television, I'd be going back to Mario.
Not sit next to Sir Bob.
Or what's his name? Damien Duff. Hibernian Insurance. Pretty good. Can't help it. I can't help
Mick
it.
McCarthy.
You can keep your Pekingese. Just Anyway.
While we're talking of the Premier League. And speaking of Everton's downward fall, they've just announced the signing.
Go on, who?
Anwar El Ghazi.
Yes, they got Ghazi on loan from
Villa.
That's turd.
Is that Benitez asking for that in for a laugh, or is there someone above Benitez who said, "Here, we got this player for you," and Benitez is going to look at him and go, "Okay."
There is no one above Benitez anymore.
If you are mistaken.
If I'm mistaken. You are.
There is no one above Benitez anymore. I've heard that they're bringing in Graham Sharp as an advisor.
Yeah, no, I saw that because Lineker. They have done that because Lineker was praising it because Lineker played with him for a couple of years.
He was tweeting about it yesterday, so I think it might be done already.
What Graham Sharp's done in football lately, I don't honestly know because he's finished playing in the late 80s. Early 90s, but great striker, great player up front with Andy Gray. What a jaw. So Ryan, your predictions for the have we done your predictions for the
no,
because we were because we just imagining Roy Keane back full time at Manchester United.
I've got 3.
Go on then.
So the first one is this time next year Man United will be in exactly the same situation.
Oh,
doesn't matter who the new manager
I do like a bit of realism.
The second one is Sean Dyche is going to leave Burnley, whether they stay up or go down. I think his time's passed now.
And the third one is Marcus Rashford will have a new haircut.
The Sean Dyche one, I can see actually because you get. I mean, Tony Pulis had a certain amount of lifetime span at Stoke, keeping him in. And it wears off, doesn't it? It just the magic goes.
we saw it with Eddie Howe as well at Bournemouth a few years back. Eventually, your time just does run out, and the players stop believing in what you're trying to do because it's the same message over and over again. He's been at Burnley for what, 10 years, something like that?
Well, because he left because Watford sacked him, didn't they? He was going great guns at Watford, and Watford sacked him. So Burnley went, all right, we'll have him, because they just got rid of Eddie Howe, because Eddie Howe had left. He'd been there for a short time.
Yeah, because he went from Bournemouth to Burnley, back to Bournemouth again.
Yeah, because he wasn't. Well, and in there somewhere in the middle, he agreed to deal with Charlton as well. Eddie Howe, just put that one out there.
And my final one is, which I've actually already said this on the pod before, but I still believe it's true. I believe that Real Madrid will sign Kylian Mbappe, Paul Pogba, and Antonio Rudiger all on free transfers and start a new Galacticos era, all on freebies. So those are my 3 predictions. We'll see if any of them come true. Well, we'll see if 2 of them come true. I know the Man United one will.
I'm thinking the Rudiger one you could fall down on Rudiger. I think from what I'm reading today, he's possibly going to agree a deal at Chelsea. And
they won't pay him. The rumor is they won't give him. He wants parity with some of the other players around him.
Yeah,
but they won't give it to him.
We shall see.
And I think his main issue is the money that Thiago Silva's on. He's on a fair old pay packet, and from Antonio Rudiger's position, and I think I can understand, he's like, well, I've probably been the best central defender in the Premier League this season, and you're paying a 38-year-old double what I'm getting paid. So either cough up or I'm going to walk to Real Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain. Although there are rumours that a certain German manager at Manchester United just happens to be best friends with Antonio Rudiger's dad, apparently. So... you never know.
His father's cousin's dog is Lionel Messi.
His father's cousin's dog pissed on Lionel Messi.
But yeah, those are my 3 predictions. Okay, Dan, you wanted to talk about the African Cup of Nations.
I haven't done mine yet. Hold on.
You've got one. Oh, you found one.
I've got 2.
He's just made them up.
No, I've got one. I truly believe in, and one. Let's go with the one I would like to see. Patrick Vieira getting sacked by Crystal Palace. And this is the reason. The reason is, during the game, he disagrees with the referee's decision so violently that he storms onto the pitch and spits at the referee and gets sent off and gets sacked by the club. You heard it here first.
All right, that's a bit random.
Right.
I'm not sure which is more random, that one or...
it's one. That's a hope more than anything. That's a hope.
Right, okay, and what's
Palace obviously going... Conte will not be there next season at Spurs.
Where do you think he will be?
I don't know, but I don't think he'll be at Spurs. And my reasoning for that is Spurs financially, and everyone knows this, will not match his ambitions. He likes money to spend. And he won't get it at Spurs. He'll be gone.
Supposedly he is.
But you say that. I've heard from a couple of various journalists that apparently Daniel Levy is opening the checkbook because their business model at Spurs relies quite heavily on them being successful on the pitch. It relies on Champions League revenue. So apparently they've made the decision that they need to open the checkbook to spend money to make money.
Fucking fantastic stadium, right?
Great training ground as well.
I just in the Championship.
I think Conte will be gone in the summer. He'll walk. People walk by the end of the summer when he hasn't got his transfer targets.
And they'll ask Harry Kane what he'll think, and he'll go, "Yeah, obviously, you know."
And Roy Keane will go, "At the end of the day, like collateral damage. It was assassinated the keeper for sure." Right, African Cup of Nations. Have I got it right this time?
Has anyone caught any of it?
I watched Nigeria versus Egypt, and I like the boy Moses.
I'll sum it up really quickly, and then I'll go into a bit more detail.
He's good.
The good teams are good, and the bad teams
are shit.
Really shit. I watched the Cameroon play Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Oh dear Lord.
Good.
Lord. I mean, Vincent Abubakar, if you know who he is, he plays for I think it's Al Nazir at the minute, but he played for Besiktas and Porto. Has a really good goal record. He has pulled the pants down of both Burkina Faso and Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And is making a difference. Go on, Ryan.
I've got a quick question. Have you seen the Tunisia game?
Yes. Shall we explain?
Can we talk about this,
yes.
please?
Because the referee from Zambia.
Yeah, let me preamble this, because this is the reason why I don't watch the African Cup of Nations. A lot of people have claimed, Ian Wright's come out quite recently and said that it's racism that the African Cup of Nations doesn't get the coverage that every other tournament does. My argument is it's so unbelievably unprofessional from top to bottom that it's not worth watching. I mean, just for example, Watford were persuaded to release a player because the country that tried to called him up after the deadline. Watford said no, but then they still did it anyway. And then you've got a history of different African teams revolting against their national associations because they're not getting their money or they're not getting hotel rooms booked or anything. It's so unbelievably unprofessional, to the point that in the Tunisia game, the referee blew the whistle 5 minutes early.
This was almost shit house of the week, by the way.
Zambian referee Jimmy Sikazwe, who was said to have suffered sunstroke.
What does that explain the rest of his decision as well?
5 minutes early. He had to go to a hospital apparently to recover, which is why the fourth official was set to take charge of a failed attempt to restart the game over 20 minutes later. Mali turned up to start the game. Tunisia said, "Bugger off, the players are in ice baths."
And the game was called quick.
The game was called off. You cannot make this shite up. You really can't. It's glorious.
This is why I don't watch it, because it's such a mess and has been.
No, you've got to watch it because it's comedy value at times. Yeah. You can see some good football.
There's been 3 games I really enjoyed. Nigeria,
Egypt
was a really good game. Nigeria are a very, very good side. Egypt also have Mo Salah compared to Guinea-Bissau and Sudan. I think Mo Salah might do all right. But Iheanacho scored. That was a good game. The favourites, Algeria, were held 0-0 by Sierra Leone. They absolutely dominated the game. Riyad Mahrez ran the show, but they just could not get the ball in the net. Sierra Leone defended brilliantly.
Sorry, can I also add that this is also a tournament that has been moved because of COVID-19, because COVID was too rife in the country where it was, and they moved it to somewhere that only has a 5% vaccination rate at the time that the tournament started. This is how insane this competition is.
Sierra Leone, when I was watching the game, they played with a back 3, and I was watching it, and I was thinking, I recognise all 3 of them. And it's because they all play in England.
Go on.
One of them has played and scored for England.
For England?
Yeah.
Who?
I'll give you a few guesses. He's made 1 cap.
Go on.
I want to see if you can work it out.
Francis Jeffers.
No, he's a centre-back. Centre-back.
Wait, it's not going to be Richard Rufus.
Okay. Let's give us some clues. Give us some clues.
Amdi Fye.
Give us some clues, Dan.
He was a Tottenham central defender.
Jaffet and Tanga.
That was a Tottenham centre defender.
Go on.
Eric Dyer.
No, he still claims to be.
He still claims. Claims
to be a centre half, let alone.
He had a loan spell at Liverpool in 2016.
Stephen Corker.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
How's he playing for? Really?
He's still playing football.
That's the thing. He
started at centre back for Sierra Leone, and I tell you what, he did fantastic.
So who are the other 2?
It's David Cisse, who plays for Wealdstone, and Osman Kaikai, who is a QPR defender. And meanwhile, Algeria, who were up against those 3, was Razid Ghazal, who played for Leicester.
Southampton? No.
Yeah. Sofiane Boufal.
Southampton.
And Andy Delors, which is a name that Pete will know.
Hold on, that rings a bell.
Well, Andy Delors, I'll tell you how he rings a bell. There was an on-off transfer saga about 5 or 6 years ago where Andy Delors' dad apparently was jetting into the Valley because Charlton was signing him. And it was getting like an odd and wingy job, wasn't it? It was where you were expecting him to turn up in the car. And he ended up going to Wigan, where he shit the bed and then disappeared back to the continent.
Now he's a goal machine in France.
Is he a goal machine in France? Because
the other one,
he'd even made statements that he was really looking forward to coming to the rally. Yeah. Everyone was getting really excited about Andy Delors. I was at the club then. Blimey, I remember that.
The other game that was quite fun.
We've never met him.
The other game that I really enjoyed was Senegal against Zimbabwe.
Yeah. What happened? There was some shithousery happened.
It was just, again, Senegal just dominated with Zimbabwe packed at the back until a last-minute penalty was tucked in by Sadio Mane. But there was a player in this game that I quite enjoyed called Teenage Hadibi. I like that name.
I like the one that's Knowledge. What's his name?
Hold on. There's two other ones I think better that. Another one in the Zimbabwe team whose name is God Knows.
God knows. And it's what's his name, isn't there?
Yeah, hold on.
Mustafa, what's his name?
Yeah. Must have a name. That's what it is.
Must have a name, yeah.
Must have a name.
God knows someone who plays Zimbabwe. And then I can't remember what country he plays for, but he plays his football club is Paris FC, the central midfielder. And his name is Mustafa Name. I think he's Senegalese.
Someone's got to be taking a piss. I'm sorry.
I saw this. I got sent a picture of it, and I thought someone's had me on here. This is bollocks. So I went on the actual French League 2 site. I went to Paris FC and found Mustafa Name.
Yeah, Mustafa Name, Senegal, Paris FC. He
didn't have a chance, did he?
5 caps he's got. He's central midfielder. He's 26. He's at Paris FC. Oh, he's on social media. Oh, you don't think for a minute I'm not following him on Instagram. I'm following him on Instagram.
There's some great. As I said, God Knows is a name I do enjoy.
He's worth 1.2 million, apparently.
When I saw Mustafa Name, I thought that might be my favourite moment of.
Beautiful. Oh, I do love it when.
The other one, I don't know if you saw, but I can't. What team I was reading about? There's one team out there. I think it might be Tanzania, who have got 2 referees in their 23-man squad.
What? They've got what?
They've got 2 referees that referee in their nation, in their squad, and I think it's Tanzania.
Why have they got?
Because they can't fill a squad.
Why have they got 2 have they got them registered as players?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Maybe they're like part-time player, part-time referee. I don't know.
And this is why I just don't do the African Cup of Nations.
Oh no, this is a reason to do the African Cup of Nations, surely. When you get shithousery like this.
In all fairness, though, to be honest, Ian Wright, I think, was blowing smoke for the sake of blowing smoke, but it doesn't get the coverage. I mean, I googled it to see where I could watch it, and unless
BBC,
you've got, I think it's
Red Button,
unless it's like was it BN Sports or something like that. Unless you've got that package, you can't see it.
Some of the games on the Red Button, the bigger games on the Red Button, every game is being shown on Sky Sports if you're in the UK and you have Sky Sports.
I was going to say, I don't. I only use Amazon and Netflix. I don't even use.
I won't lie. I've really enjoyed it.
I like to watch football. It doesn't matter where the football is. I'm happy to sit and watch it. If it's a good game of football, I'll enjoy it.
I will say I did sit through South Sudan. I want to get this right because politically it probably ended in disaster.
Oh dear.
Sudan against Guinea-Bissau.
Yeah, you got that right. Go on.
That was pain, and more pain.
I mean, you are going to get games where they're dull. I mean, you get that in the World Cup, and you get that in the Champions League. In the
I watched Equatorial Guinea against Ivory Coast last night. That was actually quite fun.
But
Equatorial Guinea with a football team.
I think I'd also argue that it's not actually for us. It's not for Europeans. It's for the people of Africa.
Yeah, of course it is. Tournament. But it's good to watch.
Oh no, I know. But I'm just saying it's the equal equivalent of the what is it? The Copa Libertadores in South America or whatever.
That could be brutal. That's good fun to watch.
It's not for us. Too. It's for the people of those nations. So it's not going to get as much coverage here as the Euros.
You'll find lots of clubs watching these games because there are young players waiting to be discovered there.
Man United youngster that Ryan raves about played the other night in Hannibal.
Love Hannibal.
So, was playing the other night.
Can I just say Hannibal is bossing my Preston team at the moment.
We'll have to do an FM podcast, I reckon, at some point.
He is absolutely bossing my Preston team in the Premier League.
So in your Preston team, Bruno Fernandes is number 2 in my Man United's all-conquering side. So yeah.
See, I'm in Preston. I don't just go in the Premier League. I just like to start lower down in a proper team.
Can I finish my point I was making?
Yes, go on.
Sorry, but I was just going to say, as a disheartened Man United fan, it's the only way I can get us back to glory.
So I was watching Equatorial Guinea against Ivory Coast, expecting to see the Premier League stars.
Yeah.
I found it hilarious that neither Nicolas Pepe or Wilfried Zaha can make the starting 11 for Ivory Coast.
Really?
The Ivory Coast must have a pretty good side, to be fair. There are some fantastic players. All jokes aside, there are some fantastic talent out there at the moment.
As I said, Nigeria. We were going through Nigeria. Pete was just saying about Nigeria's team. Nigeria's midfield 4.
Oh, man alive.
Rebo, Moses Simon, Samuel. I'm going to butcher the Chukwueze.
Chukwueze, yep.
And Wilfred and Didi. Yeah, that'll do.
And throughout time, there's always been good players. I mean, I remember the Nigeria side that had Taribo West and JJ Okocha in it and Sunday Elisha. Oh, they were so good.
Ivory Coast front 3. Maxwell Cornet, I guess is the pronunciation, of Burnley. He played on the left wing over Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah.
Sebastian Haller played through the middle. And on the right side, Max Gradle.
What?
Silverspore.
And he scored.
To be fair, Pepe's crap, but Max Gradle ahead of Wilfried Zaha. Really?
Apparently so. Having said that, Max Gradle scored. So
let's just forget the fact that Wilfried Zaha is actually English.
There is a fair amount of English representation in their team. We've got Eric Bay, and of course Willy Bolly of Wolves, and
Jean on the bench.
Jean-Michel Seri, is it?
Oh,
yeah, from Fulham.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Ivory Coast's best player is Frank Kesse. I know he's not from England.
Oh,
but if you've watched AC Milan, Frank Kesse, what a midfielder.
Yeah, keep an eye out for Frank Kesse because he's rumoured to be on a free this summer.
Yeah, he's out of contract.
So keep an eye.
Okay.
He's good.
Who do you think's going to pick him up then? Anyone?
He's actually been heavily linked with Tottenham, but I think that depends on whether
Conte's still there.
If I'm Man United, I'm on the phone.
Yeah, if I'm Man United, I'm trying to get a deal done now.
Well, you can because he's not an English-based player, so you can do that deal now and have it.
Yeah, but I think a lot of thing is that there's been a lot of talk about this recently about how players sign pre-contracts in January. A lot of players just aren't doing it now. They're waiting until the last minute because a lot of clubs with financial fair play and everything, they don't know who's going to go where or who's going to offer what. So they're leaving it until as late as possible.
The last thing I'll say is the Algeria Sierra Leone game. I went through the 3, the Kulka, Kai, and the lad from.
Can't believe that.
He's got to be about 38. Seriously,
Algeria's. I was wrong. Algeria's front 3 was Riyad Mahrez, Faguli, if you remember him, of Valencia, played for West Ham for a bit.
Yep, Stefan Faguli. Yeah.
Islam Silimani and Yahin Brahimi of Porto.
Stephen Corker is only 30.
They were
no way.
He's only 30. Yeah.
No, he's got to be older than that.
No, he's
surely.
30.
No, he's 30.
Made his debut for Spurs in 2009. He was at Liverpool in 2016 and he played 3 games, then moved to Dundee.
And then was at QPR at one point as well.
That was before that. He went to QPR, he went on Southampton on loan.
I believe he was also part of the Great British Olympic team.
I think he was, yeah.
2012.
Yeah, he played 5 games. Since then, he's been in Turkey. Currently signed to Fenerbahce, but on loan at Gaziantep, which is...
Play that pissed.
Yeah, Gaziantep, yeah. He was at Alenspor, played 71 games, signed for Fenerbahce this year, hasn't played a game, has gone out on loan.
That pretty much sums up his career. Hasn't played a game, has gone out on
30.
loan.
He's like the defensive.
30.
He's like the defensive version of Ravel Morrison.
We're talking Marcus Rashford.
Ended up in places like Iceland and God knows where else.
Ravel Morrison went on a tour, and so did who's the other one? Adil Tarabat as well.
I'll tell you someone else who had a bit of talent and then nothing's last seen bodybuilding in Cyprus. Diego Poyet. Left Charlton, went to West Ham, signed for Billy Bundles, and has vanished up his own backside.
You know, the other one that you'll think is older than he actually is. Does anyone remember El Shawhari?
Yeah, go on.
Roma. Do you know how old he is?
Go on.
It's about 31 now, I think.
He's 29.
Is that all?
Stephen Corker, I had him down at 36, 37, to be honest.
I had him at least 34.
That's just a turn up for the books. And he's 5.
If I remember rightly, he was playing at QPR when Rio Ferdinand was there.
He was, yeah. The two Ferdinands and him.
Jesus, that's a dodgy back line.
Right. Shall we shithousery of the week, Dan?
Yeah, so this week we're back in England and we're in League One.
We are, full thing.
The League of Charlton Athletic. And cast your vision back to also just quick time. Did you mention to your mate about doing the jingle?
Not a chance yet. I will do.
Oh, shithouse jingle. Anyway, yeah, cast your mind to a cold Saturday in Sunderland. The back end of May 2021, and Lee Johnson has decided he's going to clear his squad. This man he decides to clear is Chris Maguire, who was fantastic. I believe he was vice captain.
Yeah,
he cancels Chris Maguire's contract. Says you're free to go. You're not good enough for my club.
On your way, lad.
Chris Maguire leaves. He joins Lincoln City of League One. Now we're going to fast forward to a cold January night at the Stadium of Lights.
He's painted a picture here, look. Have you noticed?
Where Sunderland AFC are entertaining Lincoln City. It's kickoff. Chris Maguire's up front for Lincoln. There's a goal.
Are Marley and Marley coming out of the staircase at this point?
No, he won't watch. No, he won't watch that anymore. It scares him, apparently.
Get the shit out of me as a kid.
What? No, he didn't. You watched it every fucking day.
When I got older, I scared shit out of me. I'm all right now.
Correct. Carry on. Move on.
They're Muppets.
It's a Muppet.
That's their personal opinion.
Right, carry on. Back to this beautiful story you're
what
telling.
They identify as.
Is this a redemption story?
Hold on. So Chris Maguire scores after half hour. He celebrates in front of Sunderland manager Lee Johnson.
He runs.
No. Hold on. This is just to celebrate. You're jumping the gun.
Oh, okay.
He just celebrates. Runs past him. Lincoln are 1-0 up. 57th minute. Lincoln score again. It's Chris Maguire. This time he celebrates in the corner. Sunderland get one back, but with time running out, Lincoln had a third. It's Chris Maguire, who this time puts his hand up as if he's not going to celebrate and apologises to the Sunderland fans. Then there's a click, and you see it in the video where there is a moment of click. And he runs the length of the pitch to get face to face with Lee Johnson and just stands there with his arms out wide.
Can I just, because there's an important thing to say here, that I'm amazed that Lee Johnson didn't fall over backwards claiming he'd been headbutted. Because that's typical Lee Johnson when someone goes anywhere near one of his players.
No, that's the problem. Chris Maguire scored that trick. He was nowhere near any of his players.
The only way he could have made that better is if he ran up to him with a piece of paper and ripped it in half and went, "There's your contract, mate. Bye."
Cheers, fella. See you later.
I suppose we could do a Plonker Pundit of the week. I think it's got to go to Paul Scholes, though. Because Paul Scholes announced, I saw this via the Daily Mail and via Betfred of all weird places. He was speaking about Antonio Conte and what a good job Antonio Conte is doing. And I quote, I reckon Man United could still get him.
I saw that.
I'm not convinced Antonio Conte is doing that good a job.
Well, I don't think he's got much to work with, if I'm honest with you.
He's improved them, but I still think they're shit.
I think there's more of that Tottenham squad to work with than people are giving it credit for.
I'm not so sure, because I think there's some busted flashes there.
I think that
if you're playing Eric Dyer at the back, you've got problems.
I think the defence is worse than Man United's, and I've slagged off Man United's defence quite ridiculously.
It's really weird though. The Man United defences, if you look at them individually, they're great defenders, but put them all together, they can't defend.
Tottenham's back four: Ben Davies, useless; Eric Dyer, useless; Davinson Sanchez, useless. And who's their right back?
Tanganga.
Tanganga.
He's young, and I like him. I'll tell you who they need to sign.
Is fine.
I'll give you a name we Tottenham need to sign to shore up their defence. You ready?
Jimmy Traore.
Phil Jones.
I used to do a job for him. I'm dead serious. He'd do a job.
Better than Dyer. I'll take him over Dyer any day of the week.
Me too.
I would. I don't get Dyer. I never have got how he got in the England squad. I don't know how he's at Tottenham. I don't think.
Maybe he should be our shit out of the week just for being Eric Dyer.
But then surely Tom Cleverley's in with a shout.
Yeah, he's a shit house as well, isn't he?
Well, he's had a full
career. Can I just say,
he's had a lot of money. You know,
I want to chuck one in for pundit that's not a plonker.
Go on.
But he
Proper pundit, yeah?
Crack me up. Paul Ince. These two know about it because I put it in the chat. Paul Ince was talking about Scott McTominay, right, after the FA Cup game against Aston Villa. And he said, I like Scott McTominay. He's got a lot of goals in his reservoir.
You know the one I think who's not a bad pundit is Ali McCoist.
He's quality.
I think he's good.
Quality.
And I think because he does a lot of stuff on Amazon.
I've noticed if you're on BT Sport or TalkSport, you're a moron.
Oh, I wouldn't say that because Darren Bent's on TalkSport and Darren Bent's not bad.
And Ali McCoist is on TalkSport.
Sport as well. To be fair,
BT Sport want to rotate between Steve McManaman, Michael Owen, and Paul Scholes.
And which they'd rotate
and
them
Rio
off.
Ferdinand.
All three of them.
Rio Ferdinand is
okay.
No. Rio Ferdinand is shit because he will say the most. He'll go, "Oh, this is a massive point. I've got to make it." And then he'll just it's like, "Yeah, Man City are going to win the league." Yeah. What are you doing?
Wonder whatever happened to his boxing career.
You spent 5 minutes building up this massive point to tell us something that everyone already knew.
It's Owen Hargreaves still doing it at any level.
I haven't heard him in a while. He does a lot of German football.
To be fair to Owen Hargreaves, he's a nice fella because he stood about 4 foot away from me at Bramall Lane, and after Matt Holland had come over and given us a hug when we'd been knocked out of the cup, Owen Hargreaves came over and he was really nice. And he knew we were Charlton. And
Owen Hargreaves, after a trial.
No, he
Owen Hargreaves was doing it. Was in a shop that was shut just for him.
Yeah.
And I stood outside I wanted to go in the shop, and I stood out in the pissing rain for half hour. And he kept walking past and looking to check if I was still there.
What's he doing in the chicken shop in Abbey Wood?
It weren't a chicken shop in Abbey Wood.
Was it Men's Cafe?
No, it was a football shop in
Carnaby Street.
London.
Carnaby Street off there. Yeah.
Classic.
Maybe that was his exercises.
Check it out, quality.
No, he was. From me and Terry, he did come and talk to us and showed what a good pundit was saying. You'll be back, and we both knew we wouldn't.
Yeah, we're still waiting.
Still waiting. Yeah. So, I think, gents, we've.
Didn't you have something special?
I was gonna. Can we give an award for saltiness of the week?
What, to me?
Yeah, I think so. Because Monday night, the Aston Villa Man United game, your team are winning. How fucking salty were you?
Marcus Rashford. That's
Marcus Rashford. A player gets his face, there's blood all over his face.
Oh, Conza was a pussy.
That's out of it. He got walloped.
He did not get walloped. He ran into the back of Luke Shaw's hand and then rolled around like he'd been knocked out by Mike Tyson.
There was blood. Trigger point.
There was. He split his lips and ran into the back of Luke Shaw's finger.
You were in a bad mood the other night watching that because you realised your team were getting away with it.
I was trying to fill out an application of some form, and I was crying in tears listening to the. So what happened is at some point my WhatsApp had
exploded,
had stopped working, and I got no notifications. And then all of a sudden, I got about 15, and it was just Ryan rattling off saltiness. And Pete, every now and then, if you've ever been seeing a steam train when they're loading on coal, that was Pete with just chucking shit at
No,
Ryan.
it's like someone poking the wasp's nest, isn't it? Giving it a little poke now and again and watching the wasps go fucking mad. It was saltiness of the week. Seriously salty on Monday night. Seriously
I'm sorry.
salty.
Every reason to be,
because your team sucked.
I've had enough of Marcus Rashford. He runs around thinking, fucking Cristiano Ronaldo. He's dyed his hair bright blonde. Don't get me wrong, he's done fantastic things for the community with like challenging the government and kids' school meals and all that stuff. All fantastic. But when you roll onto a football pitch with your hair dyed blonde, and then when there's a ball sitting for you in a 6-yard line and you don't even run towards it, Fisherman of the Week goes to Senior Finch.
What I'm going to do there is while you were ranting, I'm going to fade it down and then fade it back up again as you come out of the rant. Just say, we apologise for the last 10 minutes. And then
this podcast should be called the Marcus Rashford episode.
Yeah. This podcast has been censored.
We've seen Marcus Rashford has an unnecessary amount of comments made at him.
It's totally unnecessary amount of abuse.
Including a loan spell to Everton.
This should be sponsored by Saxa. They provide, they're salt manufacturers. But no, it's the Rashford episode. We call it the Rashford one. The one where Rashford cops it again and again and again.
Hey, don't just have a go at me. Dan's trying to loan him out to Watford. Talk about pile on the misery.
Everton, he's going to Everton. He's not piling it on. He's doing you a favour because I mean, the way you're talking about him, you'd be glad to get shot of him. Surely.
Getting rid of Old Trafford.
We're getting him out of Old Trafford. You should be a happy man.
Martial's first, Rashford second.
2 players. Oh dear.
I mean, I completely agree with the Martial one.
Yeah, Martial.
All I want is for Marcus Rashford to pull his head out of his arse and do what he was actually good at, which was being quick and putting the ball in the net. That's all he needs to do, rather than all these fancy step overs and trying to cross a ball like Ronaldo. I've had enough.
We didn't say anything, Dan. He went on his own there.
Before we end on that, this is the second version of a crap Ronaldo we've got because we had Nani as well.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And the Belgian lad.
Oh, and don't mention Bebe. Don't ever mention Bebe.
You've got 4 Man U, haven't you?
Don't mention the war.
United Eyes players. You take them, that player that's got a modicum of talent, and you turn them shit.
I've got one word for you. Amdi Fire.
He was shit
when he arrived.
So we didn't turn him shit, he was already there. Right, that's on that saltiness. If you're a slug, listen to this, you're going to melt. Because there's so much salt flying around. Dan, thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Ryan, Marcus Rashford, talent, mate, talent. Thank
you.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week, and there may be saltiness. See you later.